Welcome, everybody. Boop, boop. And boop. Hey, ooh, you look like a Jedi.
What?
Uh-oh, that wasn't supposed to happen, I guess. Mr. Carter,
How we doing?
I think we're doing all right. I don't know what happened with Evie just a moment ago.
Yeah,
She poofed.
she turned into a Jedi and then she disappeared.
Yes.
She was here and then she was gone.
I thought you said,
No.
like, who?
Hi, Elena. How are you? I'm
John
doing all
thought
right.
I said defecated. Whoops.
Hi, Morticia. Ms. Black.
Welcome back.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Mr. Silverton. What kind of jewelry do you have there, Miss Samantha?
What was that?
What kind of jewelry do you have now?
Oh, Iroth's favorite pet.
Ah. Nice.
I figured it was appropriate since I'm being an author right now.
Well, I guess we kind of have to be authors for at least from about 8 to 10.
We do, but I just finished being a reader, so that was good. Let me shut this door.
You got it. Oh, I have to tell everybody else that I'm on
Oh
the
yeah, I
Discord.
should probably share some stuff out too.
Oh yeah, I have a Discord.
I guess.
That's okay. Nobody pays attention to my Discord anyway.
I almost
Me
just sent
either.
it to you guys and you're all right here.
Yeah, who else am I going to share this with? All right, who's on? Sinful. Some guy named John Moran.
Oh, that dude?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's a punk.
Yeah, I don't think he's really interested in this show.
Starting the year off strong. Friday Night Writes Chaos as per usual.
Well, this is like the first time in a month we've had all three of us, I think.
No, it's been a little bit rough, to be honest. I haven't
Yeah.
been any kind of useful in a while.
Oh, same. I haven't been useful since Booked in Chaos.
I haven't been useful since my conception, so
I mean, if we're going real dark, I could probably say the same. Yeah.
Well, let me show you what I've done when I was useful. The last useful thing I did was this nice spicy holiday story called Silver Lights. But the holidays are over now, but you can still get it where all the good stuff is. You know how it goes. And before that, I did this nice useful book of stories called Core Memories. And everybody seems to like this one because it's nice and spicy, and it's a second chance romance. Some people seem to like this one because it's baseball, broken dreams, found family, and a love to fix it all. And it's Eddie the Legend, and it is also an award-winning book. It is the 2025 Author Shout recommended read. There are other recommended reads, but this is one of them. And now I can say I'm an award-winning author, which feels even weirder than calling myself a regular author. And then, of course, there's Being Made, Rockstar, Basketball Player, Rise and Fall Redemption Story. Not as spicy as the others. Good evening, Marissa. That is not one of my books.
Although at this point it could be.
That's right, it could be. Good evening, Kara. I did get your box. It's back there. Thank you. All right, who's next?
Oh, is that me? Hi. I have my life together sometimes. My name is Samantha Moran. Apparently, I'm an award-winning author of horror, thriller, and fantasy. I write spicy, spooky, and all sorts of things, but Happily Ever After is overrated. I have Dealings in the Dark, which is Demons, Hellhounds, A Deal Gone Wrong, and 48 Hours to Save Your Soul. Bound and Betrayed, the sequel, Schizophrenia versus Demonic Possession. Without You, which is like the TV show The Ghost Whisperer. Love, Lost, and Life After Someone's Gone. Wicked Little Rabbit, which is spooky, spicy, Alice in Wonderland. Check Your Triggers, Your Health is More Important Than My Sales. And The Ruin, which is urban fantasy, medical thriller, and a dash of romance, though that was kind of on accident. I also have a new release coming out, Apothecary of Curiosity, which is cozy horror, a very fun genre that I like to call dark whimsy, where the Grim Reaper is running an apothecary and getting into mischief because who's going to tell her she can't? That comes out on March 31st. Pre-orders are open now on my site and Zon. Moving on to Evie.
And this is usually why I try to go before you, because how the hell am I supposed to top that? No, like, it's all right. I'll give it a try. I'm Evie Black. Awesome books, awkward marketing, finger guns. It's like my thing, along with the tiny hands. I wrote Unbalanced, as if Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing and Supernatural had an angsty, slow burn baby. Forced Proximity, Found Family, all the fun stuff. It's also available on audiobook, read by Matt Christensen and Andrea May. Allie Dane, but because it's spicy, she's reading it as Andrea May. Leona, she's a badass with thick thighs who ends lives, and Xandros is the simp that calls her abuse foreplay. This is Bear Shifters, Reverse Bully, Grumpy Sunshine, badass FMC. My favorite one. Abyssal, Donovan's a dick. You got Shadow Daddy, Witches, New Powers, an abusive student-teacher relationship. And
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and on to our guest of the week.
Right. I'm Clarence Carter. I am also an award-winning author. I'm not going to go through the whole list
Now
because
I
we'll be
feel
here all
left
night.
out.
The Rejected Ones, a collection of horror stories. My latest young adult novel, Without Saying Goodbye. And the award winner, a girl named Mishka. I won the Regal Summit Award.
Very cool.
Thank you.
And you have a new book out, right?
Yes. I just had not a book, but a short story come out 3 days ago, called Nora.
Nice. And Nora is available wherever books are sold, correct?
Correct. Amazon, etc., Bound in Darkness Publishing. Yeah.
Very cool.
Nice.
A girl named Mishka just came out recently too, right? In 2012, last year, which was 3 days ago. But
Yeah.
that came out. I think you were promoting that when we had you on last.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mishka came out early last year, and then Without Saying Goodbye came out towards the end of the year.
Mm-hmm. I just finished reading that one. That one's a tearjerker. Have tissues ready.
Mm.
Well, it's a good thing someone bought me a bunch of tissues.
Do you still have them? I'm sorry.
I do. I do, because I don't use them very often.
The gift that keeps on giving.
I edited her book and sent her a 4-pack of tissues. It's all fine. Actually, I just finished reading Without Saying Goodbye tonight, and I believe that is our rehoming tonight, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So we tonight are going to give you guys several chances to adopt your copy of Without Saying Goodbye by Clarence Carter. I believe it comes with a fancy box of things, right?
Yes, so it will come with a couple of stickers that are promoting our podcasts. It's kind of hard to see them in this light, but we do a couple of podcasts called The Writer's Block and 8 Spark Stories. It will also come with a bookmark for my other book, The Blacktop Kings.
Awesome sauce. And if you would like to be involved in that rehoming, we will go ahead and tell you to drop the lobster emoji in the comments because Clarence is from
Maine. Yeah.
which is where the lobsters like to go or not go because they get eaten. So drop a lobster in the comments if you are interested in adopting a copy of Clarence's book. It is very good. I just finished it tonight. So
And
Alright,
I will be adding y'all onto our fancy wheel of names and drawing at the end of the night.
yes. And while we're doing that, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself for the readers who weren't here for the last interview?
Okay. I am a Maine-based author. I've been at it for a really long time. I started writing when I was about 14, I believe. And here I am many, many years later. I'm a lot older than I look, and I'm still going strong. I've written, I think, 8 novels or something like that, and hopefully many more to come. And I've also published many short stories. That's usually where I spend most of my time, although every once in a while a novel will come by and sweep me off my feet.
Love short stories.
I can relate to the older than you look part.
You know, and I gotta give you like mad props, all the credit, because writing a short story is so difficult. It really is a different style of writing than like a full-on chunky book. We're doing an anthology, and which you submitted for, and I was sitting there trying to write mine, and I'm just like, how does Clarence do this? How does he do this? Because I want more.
Imagine trying to write a whole series of short stories and then realizing this is a real book.
Yeah.
Yeah, short stories are beautiful. You only get so many words, and you have to make every single one of them count. I know, and I call anything that's under 10K a short story, in my opinion, novelettes included. But like, you can't have filler. You can't have, excess description. You can't have any of that. You have to really, really hone it in. And especially when you work in microfiction. I know Clarence has done some work in microfictions as well. So that's really impressive.
So it's really imperative that your word economy is like very precise, and it's actually a great exercise if you guys want to improve your skills. Any of the listeners, if you want to get better at getting rid of filler and stuff, try the short story market for a little while. It is a whole different beast.
It is.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with my longer novels, because then I can just say whatever I want and she'll take it out later for me.
Yeah, I liked that comment today. My editor is getting it as it is. Good to know. Thank you.
No, I did. I tried to do some self edits. I didn't make it past the first page, and I'm just my life is horrible.
I know that's part of the reason. That's part of the reason why I haven't finished mine yet. It's like, it's gonna suck.
It's not.
It's not so much that it's gonna suck, because I read what you have and it's fantastic. It's just it hits you. It hits you, and it makes it harder to go through with it.
Yeah.
Especially with the content for the anthology that we're all participating in, including Clarence here for Friday Night Writes. It's called See Me As I Am, and it's about hidden illnesses or disabilities, mental or physical. And so a lot of us who are writing and contributing to that anthology are writing about things that directly apply to us. And so it's one of those things where it's like, how do you not insert yourself into those characters? How do you, turn it into something that's a little bit more palatable for readers when you're at your absolute lowest? I'm sorry in advance for when you read mine, please.
Like I literally, on my trigger warnings, I said, if you don't want to read about this, then don't.
Brian, no cover reveals. We're not ready yet.
Oh, shoot.
None of you saw that.
None of you saw that. All 9 of us in the slides. Pretend that didn't happen. Anyway, so Clarence is going to be helping us in that, and we are so very, very thankful for that. We really appreciate it. And definitely the short story is a unique art. And it is harder to find readers for short stories, I've noticed, even though they take up a lot less time and they cost a lot less money. But I have found that short stories are one of the better ways to try to dip your feet into the trad published field, which is really interesting, especially if you're doing hybrid publishing. So we'll talk about that in just a little bit.
So, Clarence, as a child, did you know that you wanted to be a writer? Did you see your neighbor Stephen King and I want to do that too? Or did you grow up like me, wanting to be a president one day, a doctor the next day, a cryptozoologist the next day?
I knew from a very early age. I did. So the story goes, I was in middle school, and I I was a poor student. I didn't pay attention very well. I was probably ADHD or whatever acronym. And I had this teacher named Mrs. Ellis. Mrs. Ellis dragged me kicking and screaming to read this book called Homecoming by Cynthia Voigt. And it was difficult for me to read because I couldn't pay attention to anything. But I did. I really gave it my all, you know? And I was about halfway through this book when this idea came to me, and I said, I think I can do this. And I told that to Mrs. Ellis, and she said, I know.
Just like that? Just like, did she like whisper it? I know. Like all
Pretty
ominous
much.
like that?
I mean, I'm sure that was a little more dramatic than it actually happened. Keep in mind this memory's almost 20 years old, but something to that effect, yeah.
I actually failed one of my quarters in 7th grade English because I didn't read my required assignments, which is like, you think about an award-winning author failed at English. That's impossible.
It's not. So here's the thing, coming from the English teacher's perspective, is that when you are a middle school student and you're forced to read books in depth that you have no interest in reading outside of genres that you give a shit about, like, so many very creative, very talented children will flop that. It's not just you. And in fact, I have found that people who are most creative struggle the most in school. Kind of fascinating. It's the rigid structure, the expectations, the forcing them to go beyond where their brain wants to be. So ADD is not a uncommon thing here in Friday Night Writes. Hi, this is my Nido I got for Christmas because I also have ADD.
Yeah.
I've been sitting here like picking at my nails and stuff. Like,
Yeah, I don't know what to do with my hands right now.
right?
Keep them where I can see them. We're on live.
But it's so funny though, is y'all were like, yeah, I got in trouble because I wasn't reading. It was like the opposite for me. I would get in trouble because I would get ahead in the reading, and they'd be like, no, we're not there yet, stop.
Yep. Or you would know exactly what was going to happen before everybody else did. You'd have to sit there like, do 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 do.
Yep. They would hand out the books, and they're like, we're going to be reading this over the next 2 months, and I'm like, oh, I'm already done.
Yeah,
I
that
wanted
too.
to answer that question that was in the comments before it gets too far gone. No, Mrs. Ellis and I did not stay in contact, unfortunately. I left that town somewhere in middle school, and we have not been in touch since.
Oh, maybe you should look her up.
Probably should.
That would be really cool. You can be like, hi, look, I'm an award-winning author because you're amazing. Let me send you a copy of my book. It's pretty cool.
My math teacher bought a copy of my first book.
I had a bunch of my elementary, middle, and high school teachers show up for my first ever bookstore signing. So it was about 15 minutes from my hometown. And I just reached out to them randomly, and I was like, hey, I don't know if you care, but I'll be here. And I think 5 or 6 of them showed up. So educators can really make a huge difference.
There's only like one person that I talked to from high school.
I
As
married
soon as
one
I
of them.
graduated, I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I have
married
a
my 4th
handful.
grade teacher's son, so I talk to a lot of my teachers still.
Yeah, I have a handful of my my high school classmates or Facebook friends. I saw one a couple of years ago, but most of them just wanted to beat the crap out of me.
I'm not in touch with any of my teachers. Haven't seen any of them in ages.
Yeah. So, okay. Sorry, I got distracted by the Nido. So, with the writing, you said you've been doing it or wanted to do it since you were about 14, right? So, how long have you actually been writing? Have you started then, or did you start later, or?
I started then. I wrote from 14 until I was maybe 15 or 16, and then I took a break, and I rode BMX competitively for a few years. And I came back to writing when I was 20, maybe 19, 20, somewhere around there. Which was like more than a decade ago.
I was trying to do math. I'm not good at math. That's why I write words. So you took maybe like a 4-ish year break there?
Yeah.
To do
that sounds
BMX? Okay. Very cool. And then aside from writing, and now you've mentioned BMX, do you have any hobbies, or do your characters share any hobbies that you enjoy?
Hmm. Do I have any? I like shooting pool. Like that's something. I used to have a table when I was a teenager, but unfortunately, I don't have one anymore. So now I have to go to this grungy bar and shoot with some weirdos. But I do enjoy that quite a bit.
So buy Clarence's book so he can get a pool table.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But do they do that in any of your books?
No, I haven't written about any pool sharks yet. I probably will at some point, but I did write a book about BMX though. The Blacktop
Yes.
Kings.
Nice.
It's also about as close to a character as I've ever written myself. Was the main character in the Blacktop Kings.
Yeah, I've noticed, and we all agree that there are bits and pieces of all of us in so many of our characters that we don't even realize it when we're writing it at the time. But looking back in hindsight, you see, like, it's sometimes it's like, maybe what you had for breakfast, or if it's like a part of your personality. It's you don't even realize you're doing it sometimes.
Yeah. A lot of my characters have my snark. They have my sarcasm.
I have not noticed that at all in anything that I've read by Clarence Carter. His characters are never, ever snarky.
No, not a one of them.
It's so relatable, though, to be honest. Like, because you look at these characters, they say these things, and you're like, oh, those are the inside thoughts that I wish I could say out loud.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they slip out.
I'm sorry, I'm having some difficulties over here between my dogs and the fact that my laptop just died, so now I'm having to log into everything on my husband's computer.
Oh no.
So yeah,
Welcome back to your question, then, Evie. We can do Brian's.
Yeah. So
appreciate it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to.
you're totally good. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if we covered this the first time around, Clarence, but just give us an idea of some of your favorite things. Whether it be favorite food, favorite season, your favorite candy. Whatever you feel like sharing.
Funny that you should mention candy. This right here is a jar, I guess, of dancing dinosaur gummies.
That's awesome.
So, they're sitting on my desk for obvious reasons. Any gummy candy, I'm a sucker for it. And I have this, which is like almost like Smarties, but they're like little alien crunchy candies.
Nice.
That's what's in there. Seasons, I like it warmer. So as you said earlier, I'm from Maine, and it's cold here for a very long time, and it feels like we get robbed when it comes to warm weather. So I'm a sucker for spring, summer. The times when we can see the sun.
Yeah. So those 2 months out of the year, you must really enjoy them.
Yeah, exactly. That's when we get all our outdoor work. Mow the lawn 3 times and it's over.
Well, that sounds nice, though, because in Michigan, I got to mow the lawn from like March to October. No.
Yeah. See, and like it's weird here in Oklahoma because we'll have like March to like June is when we have all like the rain and stuff. So the grass will get really green and thick and pretty, and then it gets so hot that the grass dies.
Yeah.
And that'll be until about September when we start getting the rain and stuff again. And then the grass will look all green, and then it's like, you know what, it's winter time now, so we're just gonna die again.
I was actually telling Evie this the other day. This season has been very strange. It snowed a little bit on Thanksgiving, and it snowed like a couple of days before Christmas. We did have snow on the ground until Christmas, but it's all melted. So it snowed twice this year so far, and there's nothing on the ground right now.
Yeah,
That's very strange for Maine. I mean, you guys are so far north.
Yeah, well, let's see. We got New York gets not as much as Michigan and Maine. We got a dusting like early December, and I think we got like 4 inches one day that melted very quickly. Um, Evie probably doesn't know remember any concept of snow.
Oh my God! So, look, I was born and raised in Chicago for
Uh,
the first 20 years of my life. I remember snow. I remember how it looks so wonderful at first and then it goes to shit like that. But we did have 2, 3 years ago the last Arctic vortex that went all the way down to Texas. We ended up getting like 2, 3 feet of snow here. Everything shut down for like a week. And the snow finally went away because it went from like -19 to 85 degrees.
Yeah, that's a swing. We're sitting with like 4 to 6 actual inches, not man inches of snow in our front yard right now.
Difference between
I will
this
have
and
you
this.
know, I count actual inches,
Good for you. Good for you.
and I know exactly what I have.
My brain went, wah. Anyway.
So Clarence, do you have anything that you are very passionate about or like a pet project or something that does not involve writing books, etc.? I know Sam campaigns for Walk for MS every year. I go out, talk about, Palestine and everything as well. Is there a charity or event or anything that you show up for?
So I haven't in a while, but I used to support a local food bank here in the area, but I've just been so busy lately I haven't gotten around. But they're doing very well. I keep tabs on them, and I do plan on getting involved with them again at some point in the future. But yeah, I try to pay attention to local charities and stuff like that. But I'm not super active in it at the moment.
And that's all right, but that's probably like the best place to be at in your local community, helping out those that you actually live with. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. I used to do a lot of work for local food pantries back in high school. I was in Key Club, and that was one of the things our Kiwanis and our Key Club cared about. Food pantries are so important. Like, there's a lot of food scarcity in this country, and food deserts, which most people don't actually know about. It's not actually desert. It's just like you live in the middle of an area that doesn't have easy access to grocery stores or things like that. In walking distance, you end up with convenience stores, gas stations, that kind of thing. So you don't have any healthy options, and that's part of the problem with a lot of our health things in this country. So that's really cool. I'm glad you did that because food scarcity is a really, really big problem.
Mm-hmm.
You would think it wouldn't be in such an industrialized country. You would think we would have that all under control, but
I mean, you'd think so. I mean, there's enough food that like there shouldn't be world hunger, but it's there, but working with your local community is a great way to help.
I agree. Get involved with something. I should get back into it. I haven't donated to them in a while. I couldn't tell you how long. 2 years maybe. I think it was during the pandemic. I was really backing them pretty hard, and then things got pretty squirrely there for a while, and
yeah. Well, and they take donations of things that aren't actually food related as well, which some people don't know. Things that are non-expirational, like toilet paper and soaps and stuff like that, are all very important as well. So if you have a food pantry in your community, and most communities do, and you have the option to share, you should check that out. That's really important.
there's a high demand for socks. Like seriously high demand for socks in those communities.
Yep. Mittens, hats, socks, scarves, all of those things. The winter is intense in some of these places, so if you have
Right.
anything you can share, even handmade items, they like to take knitted and crocheted things as well. So
As a matter of fact, I may have a couple hats.
you might need some.
Well, I do have some, but I have an excess of hats.
I was just teasing.
I talked. Yeah, and
Brian, if I didn't tease you, this wouldn't be Friday night. Right?
I know.
I don't have one. I'm gonna have to go like cornholio up here. Like,
I am
part pardon me.
Is there a shortage of teepee for the bunghole?
There
I
is.
think we have some for now. We do need to go grocery shopping, but
That reminded me of the Kermit meme when he's wearing the.
Yes.
Oh,
perfect,
yeah.
Do it.
Oh, all right. Rerouting, because this is Friday Night Rights, which, I mean, this is very appropriate for Friday Night Rights, but authors are not just authors. Authors are also readers, right? So we'd like to ask you what your most recent 5-star read was.
Mm.
I feel like I should be rapping now.
I just finished. I don't remember if it was a 4 or a 5, but I just finished Soul Survivor by Dean Koontz, and it was fantastic. If you haven't read it yet, I mean, check it out.
Ma'am. Yeah.
Howdy,
I
man.
haven't actually read anything by Dean Koontz. I do know that he and Stephen King have a whole rivalry, though.
Yeah.
That was
I
a
guess
fun
it was-
story. Stephen King signed one of Dean Koontz's books, and it was a big deal.
So while we're at conventions, I will go and hide and like work my friends' booths and pretend to be them. So I have a picture somewhere on one of my profiles of me sitting behind a couple of different authors' booths and pretending to be them. I have yet to actually sign anything, but I've definitely like pitched their books before.
Nice.
That is an awesome prank. I'm going to have to try that one time. But, I'll have to find another male author at the events. Because, although,
You're more than welcome to sit at my table, like when I go out to take a little.
that's
you know,
true.
a
Yes,
break.
I could be Evie Black.
I mean, I keep the tiny hands at the table, so you just gotta.
There's no comparison though to Evie Black. How do you imitate that?
Yeah.
Just be awkward.
I could
Always
be-
got that part down.
Just I mean, I do that at the table. I'm like, and people are like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Buy my book."
You want to hear Brian pitch the
I
Howlers?
have these. Do you want?
like it. You read. This is a book. You read. Yeah. No. Okay.
Take it.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's rough
I-
sometimes.
T.S. Taffin wants to hear me pitch the Howlers. Now, do you want to hear that in my regular voice or my Rocky Balboa voice?
Oh man. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like because we work together so often as the Dawn Riders that we could probably pitch all of each other's books fairly well at this point. But I don't know. I don't know if I could just pitch a random other author. A friend for sure. but-
Evie's easy.
Just read the
Donovan's
the
a dick.
blurb, but as the movie phone voice.
Abyssal!
Makes
Donovan
a living as
is
a
a dick.
Back to you.
Right?
Donovan's a dick.
It works.
Daddies. Anyway,
I had a dream about Van Helsing.
I'm gonna hide behind this now.
All right. So we are here at we're having a great conversation. We're joking around, but we are here for Clarence, for him to talk about his books, and we are doing a schmiv, an adoption, a rehoming, whatever you want to call it. So if you are interested in getting a copy of his newest book, right there, Without Saying Goodbye, with some goodies, go ahead and put a lobster down in the comments, and we will
Lobster.
add you to the wheel of names.
Yes.
Lobster.
That's a lobster.
Rock lobster.
Rock lobster.
I was thinking the same thing. All right. While Evie does that, I'll ask my next question. We'll circle back to hers, but you've written quite a lot of books. You actually have an extensive backlist, including all of the short stories that you've published. So our question for you is, do you have a favorite or do you have a book you wish more people would read?
How do you choose between your children? I mean, always.
Easy. Easy. You just don't tell them.
Oh, okay. Well, I only have the one, so it's kind of hard to choose. Do I have a favorite? I'm really proud of the last two, if we're being honest. Without Saying Goodbye, I feel like it came out almost exactly how it happened in my head. I think I did a really great job at trying to capture the essence of the troubled teen industry and the severity of the situation and the abuse that happens in those schools. And
Schools.
it took like schools. It took a lot of like research and watching these crazy documentaries and reading these articles to fully wrap my head around why they existed in the first place and how they came to be. And I feel like I captured at least some of it in a decent way and maintained a narrative drive that I hope worked. And also, a girl named Mishka I'm really proud of, not just because of the award, but this book took me like 7 years to write or something like that. And there was something about it that I just could not get right for the first how many ever years. And then 2023, I believe, I said, I'm not moving on until this is done. And I kind of forced my way through it and figured out all the plot holes and everything. I wish I could tell you that everything fell into place and it was all magical and beautiful, but it was a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think it came out kind of the way I'd hoped.
That one's on my TBR. I did just finish the one that you just released without saying goodbye. I can tell you that it does authentically feel like the voice of a troubled 17-year-old boy. It's very touching. It's kind of like the concept of holes, but in a more realistic, modern setting with a lot of guilt and trauma and grief built into it. And so it's definitely one of those books that you're going to want to have tissues on hand for if you're an emotional reader. Or it's one of those books that some people might actually relate to so strongly they might have a little bit of a hard time getting through it because they'll have to stop and take breaks. And for a book so short, that is impressive. It's very hard to do.
So, I know you kind of jump around genre-wise. What genres do you write in? Which one are you planning on broadening that list more? And how many books do you currently have?
So, I specialize, quote unquote, in horror and young adult. Those are like my two main. Those are the ones that I keep coming back to. They're like my home base, I guess. As of what I'm gonna broaden into, I mean, I'm doing nothing but erotica from now until it's just gonna be spicy books forever.
Yes. You and I will exchange notes. I'm trying to write horror.
Okay.
You can take over the spice.
All right. There's a combination. You can do both. It's fine.
We'll do we'll feedback each other. Do some peer review. Make sure that the spicy math adds up, the right number of protrusions for the right number of orifices.
Funny enough,
you had talked about combining. Is it YA horror, or is it horror and then YA? Yeah.
Yeah, two separate genres. Although I have done YA horror before, I did a young adult horror story called Mr. Thorpe's Bell. You guys remember that?
One.
I loved it.
One.
And you did the cover for it. Thank you very much. What was I about to say? I got lost. Oh, yeah, the erotica. So, obviously I was being facetious, but in truth, I have written spicy stuff under a fake name in the past and had minor success at it.
Nice. Nice. Am I gonna go look you up and it's gonna be like Anita Dix or something like that?
Not quite. Close enough.
People are thirsty. It's a fair genre.
People are thirsty. And I honestly just wanted to see if I could. It was sort of an experiment, I guess.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Learning and growing and figuring out what works and doesn't.
I see, and I'm not a one genre author either. If we stay in one genre and you have the attention span of a gnat, you're going to get bored, and your readers are going to get bored too. So I imagine you're like me, you go where the dopamine is, right?
Something like that, yeah. So I don't think about genre nearly as much as some writers do. Like, I've never labeled myself a horror author or a young adult author, or I honestly just think about the story first and then figure out what genre it belongs in, because I don't know. I just, the way my brain works, I guess. The story comes first, and then I'm like, well, this has to go somewhere, and then I have to kind of look around at like comp titles and stuff and figure out what it's like, and then I figure out where it belongs.
Comp titles are awful. I hate looking up comp titles. I'm not the only one, right? Like, that's so hard.
It sucks.
It is. What really gets me too is I've had many people tell me that Unbalanced is like, you even said it too, Sam. What was the book series? The
Mortal Instruments.
Yeah. And like I read like the first one and then it got kind of incesty and I was like, nope, I'm not.
It doesn't
not
stay
doing
that way.
Well, I didn't know that at the time, okay?
Well, now you do.
And now I do. And because I tell this story pretty often, I can't go back to it.
Right. Yeah.
For what it's worth, I've never looked up comp titles, and the idea never crossed my mind. It's just, this is the title of my book, and it is what it is.
It might actually be pretty good for your sales pitch to have some comp titles, even though it is a very difficult thing to do. Kind of like the concept of genres. I don't think about genre first either, though I put myself in horror, thriller, and fantasy because that's where most of my stuff kind of falls. But genres are just a box, and comp titles are ways to sort of connect your books to people who have different experiences than you do. So, like, when I pitch Wicked Little Rabbit, I say this is like Haunting Adeline meets Emily McIntyre's Hooked, because it has the fantasy elements and the dark elements. Unlike some
Van
people have
Helsing
called
and
it
Supernatural.
Aaron Bogart. Right, yeah.
So for both of my collections of horror stories, I usually say Creep Show and Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah. I love Mr. Thorpe's Spell, for sure fits into those too.
Oh yeah.
For sure. That was so good. I swear I finished that on one of the worst days of the year. I was having a horrible day, and that book kept me going. That was one of my salvations to the day. So kudos to you. Because I was curled up in a ball on the living room floor, like crying my eyes out because the tornado had dropped a tree on my house.
Oh, that's right.
I didn't get out of bed for 8 straight hours, but I read Mr. Thorpe's Spell, and it was really very good. My first experience to Clarence's work, actually, because Evie was like, you want this one. This is the one you want first. So I read that. But it very much reminded me of, like, Tales from the Crypt meets kind of YA Goosebumps, but not, like, corny Goosebumps, more like the actual, like, or maybe, that show that you say when they sit around the campfire, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that one.
That one, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Or
That one. Mm-hmm. So that it's good. It's helpful to have comp titles sometimes, though it is very, very difficult to find them. Oftentimes I have to have people tell me what my book is like before I have any idea what I'm working with here. Is that something that you experience as well?
Yeah. So every once in a while, a reader will tell me, "Oh man, did you get inspired by some book that I've never heard of?" And I'm like, "No, but thank you."
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, that's, I mean, I think we've talked a little bit about it, but, the inspiration for your published works, is it just, from like past experience, or, is it just, where do you get the inspiration?
Oh, everywhere. So I've got a runaway imagination. As you know, I can't pay attention to anything. I'm still ADD or ADHD or whatever. So I'll be in the midst of like a meeting or being lectured at for some god-awful reason, and my mind will just be not doing what it's supposed to be doing, or I'll be in like traffic and I'll be thinking about, what if there was a woman stuck in that trailer in front of me, or what if this train derailed, or something.
And then you get halfway across town without realizing that you haven't been paying attention to the traffic lights?
I was literally just going to ask, do you ever get so deep into a story idea that you're like, where am I? Why am I not dead?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, pretty much.
Sometimes I wonder why I don't have 1,000 tickets sitting in my mailbox, because I'm like, I know I was over there. Now I'm here.
You like pull out of your driveway, and then the next thing you know, you're at work, and you're like, wait, where did the last 20 minutes go?
Right. Or sometimes you pull out of your driveway, and then the next thing you know, you're at work, and you're like, wait, I was trying to go to Walmart.
You know,
that hasn't happened yet.
I've gone to the wrong place before.
you know, when I get like hyperfixation tunnel vision when I'm driving. I'm just like I'm pointing to point B, zoom, and my wife, you know, will be like, "Oh, did you see that house on the side of the road?" Like, no, I didn't. I was looking at where I was going.
Oh, Brian, you gotta live a little.
I know, teleporting. Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
To be
Teleporting.
fair, he's in New York. I would totally pay attention to where I was going if I was in a big city like that.
I guess if you have to keep the pedestrians alive.
Yeah, and, you know, not hit other cars and stuff like that.
I
The
live
only
in
danger up
Michigan.
here is
No,
like
do you have full coverage?
the only danger up here is like deer and moose.
Dude,
Oh, dear.
moose are freaking huge. Like
They are.
I know they're big animals, but every so often I'll see a picture on the internet that really puts it into perspective how huge they are. And people are like, "Yeah, no, you hit a moose, you're dead. The moose is fine."
Oh,
Yep.
And I believe it.
You
I have
might
a
get a
friend-
chip of antler as a souvenir.
I have a friend who went on vacation out to Mount Rushmore, and they're driving through like, you know, it's like 30 minutes of nothing in South Dakota, and you know, all of a sudden it's like pitch black, 10 o'clock at night. All of a sudden, they like boom, boom, like what was that? I don't know. And they kept going. Like 30 minutes later, the car has a check engine light, and it turned out a moose hit it, like it like clipped him, and they didn't even realize it. And
See? That wildlife and cars. I ran over a coyote. That was fun.
Oh, poor
I felt really bad. I'd had my car for less than a month. I was on my way to work. It was like 6:30 in the morning, right? And I'm driving down the highway, and it's supposed to slow down from 70 to 55 just to get into town. And right when the speed limit dropped, right in front of my car, and I clipped it on the front end. And I was like, "Oh God, is that somebody's dog?" Right? And I got out of the car to look, right? Nobody said I was smart. I just write books. Okay. And it was a coyote, right? Like at least it wasn't somebody's dog. And then here I am calling my husband. I don't know what to do. I had
Yeah.
yeah, wildlife, man. Okay, maybe we should do less plotting while driving.
Maybe.
A little bit. I wasn't an author then. Fine.
yeah. So, Clarence, favorite character, least favorite character?
That is a great question. Ernie was so much fun to write. So, for any of you listening who don't know, I wrote a book called Damn Ernie, and it has gotten a lot of praise from people in Book Talk. Our friend group seems to really enjoy it. Ernie is this like facetious old man who says whatever he wants, does whatever he wants, without any regard of consequences. And writing that character was so freeing because he got to say whatever he wanted, and it was a lot of fun.
Push the boundaries.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. That's probably my favorite character to write. Least favorite, in A Girl Named Mishka, the villain, when he's a young kid, because I kind of follow their path throughout the entirety of their life, pretty much, from childhood all the way to adulthood. Anyway, he was just the worst child that you could imagine. Like, far worse than any of our children. Like, definitely homicidal, psychotic, and I did not enjoy writing that part of him. I didn't enjoy writing the villainy until he became an adult. Then it became a little more fun, and I don't know why, but just for whatever reason, him being this child, maybe it's the parent in me, I guess, but was fucking awful.
Do enough children's stuff during the day. Well, I have a question that's sort of off script here, but I have to ask you because it is one of my favorite things. Do you prefer to write the good guys or the villains? Because I'm a total villain girl.
Most of the time, villains. Every once in a while, I get a good hero that I really enjoy, but there's something about twisted and evil and wrongdoing that's far too juicy not to write.
Mm-hmm. I tell people all the time that writing villains is how I stay a nice person. I feel like you have to write just the most messed up characters. And I don't know about you, but I'm a fan of morally black, not morally gray. Where do you stand?
As dark can go, with the point of still getting readers.
Yes. Good ink, Black.
What's that paint? Banta?
Oh,
black?
yeah. The blackest black paint that
Like
is actually like fan.
absorbs light and stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. That's
Just
ironic.
just like the title of King's new book, you like it darker? That's kind of where I'm at.
Nice. Love a good villain writer.
So this next question is a two-part question. The first part is, do you like to hear from your readers as they're reading your books?
That doesn't happen very often, but yeah, sure. I'm totally down to get messages. I have gotten, hey, you made me cry, that kind of thing before. I'm sorry.
But also not.
I was about to
I
say,
mean-
sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, you kind of had it coming. I mean, you knew what you were getting into.
You had it coming.
Okay, so if you're okay with readers messaging you while they read their your books, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Snail mail, fax machine,
The dodo.
telegraph,
Yes.
yeah, Morse
Send
code,
it over.
and
I don't
any,
mind you contacting me, but I'm going to make it as inconvenient as possible.
yeah, carrier pigeon works for me.
I'll attach this to my cat.
Noted. I will start training my pigeon.
No, anyways, fine. Any social media, whatever platform you can find me on. We've since expanded exponentially in the social media world. Now there's like blue something and lemons and God knows what else. Stitches, I don't know. And I haven't quite gone to any of those places yet, but I assume if this one crashes and burns, you'll find me on some of those too.
Yeah. Although if this one goes, I believe the lemon one goes as well. And CapCut.
Yep, because they're all owned by TikTok.
Yep.
Yeah.
Although an unlikely hero, can you call him a hero, has emerged on this
Hero.
matter. The orange Cheeto has now asked for a delay on the banana-ing of the TikTok, so we shall see how that goes. This might be the only issue I ever go. Good job for you on Friday Night Rights. But yeah, social media is changing, so just definitely follow Clarence on here and other places if you have not done that already, because he is awesome and you want to be around no matter where you go. So
Yeah, find me wherever.
A link in your bio with all your other stuff?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Perfect. You can find me on the website. You can find me on all the major socials. I also have a forum on my website. If you ever get really desperate, you can say something in there and I'll check
that's
it.
good. I gotta figure out how to do that.
Right?
Remind me while I'm
he's just
Googling
over
where
here
we
setting
can.
the bar up real high. Thanks.
I'm going
Year
to
of
Clarence's
growth, my
website.
friend. What?
Might be looking at Clarence's website real
Oh,
quick.
yeah.
Right? Like, I love whenever people are like, your stuff is so professional looking and you seem to have your light. Like, no. I'm like, Sam will do something. I'm like, let me copy that real quick. Or
I'm not
you're
allowed-
like, hey, I have a forum. Let me copy that real quick. I am faking everything.
Yeah, so on
I'm
my
not
website-
allowed on their websites.
What?
I'm not allowed on their websites because they think I'm going to buy something.
Yeah, that's fair. On the website, all the way to the right, there's a forum button. There's nothing really in it right now, but it's a cool option to have.
That's really cool. I'm gonna look into that.
Yes.
Very cool.
So it is that time again. If you would like to get a copy of Clarence's book without saying goodbye, that stickers, a bookmark, all that fun stuff, put a lobster down in the comments and I will add you to the spinning wheel of names and we will draw someone to adopt this book. at
Yes.
the end of the interview.
Now, Clarence, is this
Is that a
US only?
Triceratops?
Well,
Is this US only for the book box? Okay, just check it. What if
Yeah.
we have someone out of the US? Would they do like an ebook or something?
yeah, I could probably give them like an ebook or an audiobook code. I have some Dan Murney codes left.
Sweet.
You mean like they charge you for international shipping even though like you could spit and hit Canada?
Favorite airplane?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just set it right across the border. They can come
Yeah.
pick it up.
I could practically kick it over the border and they'd still charge me for it.
Oh yeah, anything they can use to get money.
Yeah.
Instead of
Alright.
pigeons, the carrier pigeons, you need to get some carrier moose.
Yeah.
Listen, they have no idea what the drones over New Jersey are. Maybe you should just get a drone and fly it.
You know, we should work on our own delivery system. I feel like that's where all the money is.
Yeah, we have to come up with another term, not snail mail, something else. I will brainstorm this for the rest of the live because it'll always be like in the back of my head percolating.
Oh, the only answer is
Fixation.
moose mail. I mean, it's got to be.
Yeah, that is the obvious choice.
Oh man.
Rock lobster.
All right, so again, you're dropping lobsters down there in the comments if you would like to adopt an awesome book box of Clarence's books. Evie is taking care of that on the wheel, and while she is doing that, let's talk about your path as an author. Now, are you straight indie or trad or hybrid, and why did you choose that path?
I am in whichever club will take me as a member. I will go wherever I am welcome, and usually people have to kick me out before I leave. So
Fair enough.
all of my books thus far have been indie, but some of the short stories have gone trad, if that helps. There are small publishers and stuff and presses that do magazines and anthologies and stuff. I do plan on going to the book that I'm working on right now. I want to publish through a small press, which I hope to send to later in the year when it's finished.
So that technically makes you hybrid then, right? Because you have some that are on your own and some that are trad?
Yeah.
Okay. And is that because we talked about earlier about how short stories are a little bit easier to break into trad with, or?
Yeah, there's some of that. Also, the way that you submit short stories is sort of, you don't really know the extent as to how big the publishing company is unless you really research them. So I just kind of submit, and just keep going. And I honestly don't give a lot of thought after I hit send until I get rejections back.
Yeah, it's hard too because sometimes you wait a long time for those rejection letters.
Yeah, the market is really slow, unfortunately.
Yeah, I got a rejection letter a year after I published Eddie the Legend.
Mm-hmm. I have only ever tried to submit one book for TradPub. It was Dealings in the Dark, and I didn't really want to be TradPub necessarily, but I wanted the experience of sending an inquiry, like to figure out what that was like. So I submitted it to a small press. I didn't actually get a rejection letter. I got I'm super, super busy right now, so I can't actually read all of these. And I was like, that's fair. Just let me know if you change your mind. So sometimes the smaller presses, too, get very overwhelmed, and that's something to keep in mind.
Oh, for sure. This is a crazy business because there is no lack of talent. Seriously. I mean, we all can throw a rock and hit 25 very talented authors. There's no shortage of talent here on Book Talk or just any of the social medias, to be honest. And because of the internet and social media, it's brought us all so much closer. And for better and for worse.
Well, and the thing is, too, that we have the ability to shout at the world, right? And so, like, if you were looking at indie publishing 20 years ago, it was such a vastly different industry. Woohoo! But it's not like that anymore. You know, there's a lot more competition in the field. There's a lot more higher quality editing and submitting and publishing going on. There's a lot more, like, polishing with covers and formatting and such. And there's a lot more competition, which is a word that we don't really like to use, but like just saying if you're, vying for attention, no matter what you do, you're competing with somebody. Friday Night Writes, we like to focus on community instead of competition, right? Because it all works better if we build each other up. But I know with submitting pieces to trad presses, even small trad presses, that competition can be pretty fierce. It's like the Hunger Games out there.
Mm.
Yeah,
The odds be ever in your favor.
exactly.
So, we've talked about some of the struggles, with what do you enjoy most about writing? And conversely, what do you enjoy the least?
That is a fantastic question. So, just side tangent real quick. I listened to this podcast called The Writer's Life, and it's like The Screenwriter's Life. It's a podcast about screenwriting, and they ask that exact same question on every episode. So I like that question. What do I like the most? Escapism, I think. I really like to just when I'm in the zone, I can let my problems just go, and I am here. And unfortunately, those sprints are not as long as they used to be. My attention span varies widely, but if you get into a groove, you sort of lose track of the world, and that is, in my opinion, one of the best feelings in the world. Like, just when you're in the zone and your brain is on fire and the keys are moving and you're actually putting down the things that are coming out of your head rather than nonsense. That is probably the best. The worst, it's such a slow business, and unfortunately it is a business because we kind of have to make money and so on and so on.
Yes,
And
you can buy pool tables.
Yeah, so we can buy pool tables. Like you guys were just saying, you said that you sent out Eddie the Legend and you didn't get it back until a year after.
Yeah.
It's that story times 1,000, pretty much. It goes the same way with short stories and agents, and it's just, and I understand everybody's busy, the slush piles are huge, I get it. It's just a really slow business. So if you write a story, you kind of have to move on after you submit it. You can't just sit by your computer waiting for that email, because you're going to be there forever.
Yeah.
You just kind of have to hop on to the next project and just keep going.
Well, and sometimes they just completely ghost you too. You never even hear back at all, and that's frustrating,
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that's how it goes. I mean, how can they respond to millions of people?
It's not feasible. It's
No.
really not.
And you get the form letters too, thank you. Where it's like, hey, thanks for this, but no. And you're like, all right, fine.
Yeah. So one of the cool things that you learn and you experience as you grow is the form letters become less and less frequent. So when you get to a certain height in your skills, we'll say, you get much less form letters and a lot more holy crap, this was awesome, I want you to come back, I want you to try again, I want you to... And it's really rewarding. Even though they say no, it's still very rewarding because they are sincere.
Mm-hmm. They actually cared enough to read it. Yeah.
I know for me personally, with Eddie, it not so much my first book, but with Eddie, I proved to myself that I wasn't a flash in the pan writer, that I was a bona fide author in my mind. Mm-hmm. How did publishing your first book change your life?
Well, my first few books were horrible. I don't know that they changed it for the better. I wrote a young adult book that I very sloppily edited, and it came out awful, and we don't really talk about that one very much. And then I did a collection of short stories that I later redid. It was originally called The Rejected Ones, and the first version of that was pretty bad too.
The first of anything is always bad. You have to allow it to be bad.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
You read Dealings in the Dark. You're like, I'm going to read this. And I was like, I'm going to go hide. Thanks.
And I love that book.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It will be bad to us, but it's not bad to everybody, right?
I had to remember that my first book is only bad to me. It's not bad to anybody else.
It's growth.
That's fair enough. As far as changing it for the better, when the one that actually stuck the first one that like is still available now, actually came into being. I think people took me more seriously as a writer. People were like, "Oh, this guy's he actually isn't just goofing off in a closet, a walk-in closet that smells like feet. He's like nose to the grindstone, trying to do something."
It's very specific.
So yeah, in the apartment that we used to live in a long time ago, I used to write in a walk-in closet that my wife would store her shoes in.
Nice.
Oh,
Nice.
it's always the closet, you know, with the narrators too, and voiceover artists. You know, they work and they start out in the closet.
Yeah,
Well,
I did
because
not
you
have
to
this.
carve out space for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not have this big, beautiful office then.
Yeah. So which one was it that really made people take you seriously?
No Honor Among Thieves. Yeah. It was a book about bank heists.
Nice.
Don't happen to have a copy of it right handy somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I know Eddie is the one that really kind of got Brian started down that path. Like you said, it vindicated him. For me, I wanted it to be the ruin. I wanted it to be the ruin so bad. It's not. It's Wicked Little Rabbit. It's fine. It's
Yeah.
for Evie. It's probably Leona.
No, actually, and like I'm kind of salty about it because like everyone reads Unbalanced. It's the first one, and I get like so much good feedback from it, but then nobody picks up Leona.
Oh, I liked Leona.
It hurts my feelings because I love her so much. Like
It's
so
my
freaking
favorite of
much.
yours.
It's my favorite too, but everybody's just like, no, that's okay. So, you know.
Apparently, it's S.A. Bird's favorite too.
Oh, speaking of S.A. Birds, I did just read The Three Ring Scavenger as my book buddy read with Marissa, who's in the comments here today too, so that's fun. Dark Romance Circus. Very fun. But yeah, it's always one of those things where you think it's going to be this one, it's going to be this one, right? And then nobody cares.
Yeah.
I have a book that literally nobody reads ever. I even re-released it with a prettier cover. Nobody reads this one. Like, at all. It's fine. It's the nicest book I've written. Like, the friendliest approach.
I
No.
have one like that too. I have a book, another young adult called The Latchkey Kids, and for whatever reason, people just ignore it. They walk right by it. It does not do well on the table. It doesn't do well online.
Yeah. Are you a sell online kind of author? Or are you a I sell a lot more in person kind of author?
I sell a lot more in person.
Me too.
Unfortunately, I don't do a lot online, although this month was not too bad. Well, technically last month, but you know what I mean. It was not too bad.
Yeah. Selling online, like we said, there's just so many people out here who have something to offer, and we're like, hey! You know, when you're in person, you can actually get to know someone, and I feel like as an indie author, that's one of the things that we love is getting to know people.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun
Well,
to
maybe for you two, me and Brian are over here like, hey, and scaring people off. So
Yeah, I don't know. People seem to run the other way when I try to approach them with my pitch.
Ashley, teach me how to KU, girl, because I got nothing.
Yeah.
right, like
I'm about to pull my books out of KU again because nobody reads them, and then I could just put them wherever I want. So.
I know. I actually went the entire month of December with 0 page reads.
I don't even know. Now I have to look. How'd I do in December? No, not good.
Well.
But,
Yeah.
go ahead, Brian.
Oh no, I was going to say I think Silver Lights came out in December, so I did all right. But most other months, I think it was October and November. I had like 20.
I had 671 pages in KU last month, and usually it's Wicked Little Rabbit because KU is primarily romance readers, I think. But I got Dealings in the Dark actually took off a little bit in KU last month. But I have had my books in Kindle Unlimited since 2022, and I see all these other authors, right? And I'm not going to lie, I do get jealous sometimes. Like, happy for you, jealous, right? But, like, still jealous all the same, envious. I've had my books in Kindle Unlimited for 2 years, and I've only got 31,000 page reads. And I see all these other authors like, I've got 5 million, and I'm like, I am so proud of you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Unbalanced is going to be 2 in March, and it's sitting at only
That is amazing.
like total page reads. I'm only at and that's all 3 books. I'm at 50,000, but like 46,000 of that is unbalanced.
yeah. Well,
I don't even know.
I have, well, since I put both of re-released my 2 books last year, where it's almost been 1 year, I have 4,456 page reads. Say the page reads
Leona.
lifetime.
Yeah. See, I'm in the same boat. The irony, right? Okay, in KU is that like KU is about exposure, right? And that's why you put it in there because more people have access to it. It's better for the reader, not good for the author necessarily sometimes because they pay you very little when you're, not making the hundreds of thousands of page reads and stuff. Dealings in the Dark has been out for 2 years. Wicked Little Rabbit came out in April, and Wicked Little Rabbit has already surpassed Dealings in the Dark by 4,000 page reads. So that's why I said most of the books in KU are romance oriented.
Right.
Which leads me to ask you a question, Clarence. Are any of your books in Kindle Unlimited?
Not anymore. I think I took them all out.
Yeah.
I had them all at one point, but I revamped everything when I changed my website. I did a whole bunch of revamps leading into 2025 because I was hoping to traffic differently and market differently, and I believe I removed everything from KU and moved it all to wide distribution. I should probably put it elsewhere. I just haven't yet.
I've heard good things about Kobo Unlimited because it's not an exclusive unlimited program and readers can still pay to read like they do in KU. But the problem is that they, as far as payouts go, you have to hit a bar before they'll pay you. So that one's kind of tricky if you're a low page read kind of author like I am. But just something to look into. So then yours are available in all sorts of places then. So you have like what, Apple and Google and stuff?
I think so, yeah.
Very cool. Good to know. Because I have those on my phone. I have $8 of ebook credit.
Cool.
So
Yeah, it's
like
weird how the
Clarence's books.
distribution went because like some of them went here, some of them went there. They kind of scattered. So just look and see what's on there, I guess. I don't know.
So, are you a plotter, a plantser, a pantser, a quilter, whatever?
No, pants are all the way. I write by the seat of my pants. Only enough light to see the ground in front of me, unfortunately.
So while you're writing, of course, as authors, we're concerned about our characters, our plot, all the things that goes into a story. But do you ever stop and think about what the readers are going to experience, or like, hey, I want my readers to feel or experience this while writing?
This is going to sound really selfish, but I don't think about the readers very often. I really don't.
And that's fine.
I usually write stories for myself first, and then I kind of think about the readers much later in the process. But they don't influence me all that much, to be honest.
I mean, and that's fair. One of the great things about especially us indies is we're writing the story we want to tell, and we're not having to check the box of, oh, so and so wanted this, so and so wanted, we're just writing and take it or leave it.
Yeah. I'm like Sam Bird down here. Oh, they're going to yell at me. I'll do it twice. Yeah, if it's going to give you a strong emotion, I'll do it, as an author. But like, I'm kind of in the same ballpark as Clarence. Like, I'm writing the story that I want to tell. There is a lot of discussion going on right now, though, about what authors should and should not be allowed to put into their books. That's a whole thing. I don't know if you're on Threads or not. That's heating up over there. We're not supposed to put politics in books. We're not supposed to include certain tropes in books, and if a reader has a problem with a chapter or a scene, we're supposed to rewrite that, I guess, is one of the things that they're debating over there. And there are authors all over the spectrum on that one, too, which is interesting. I think accidental pregnancy was one of the tropes, Ashley, because she was asking in the comments. Anything that involves, like, child harming, that the more sensitive topics. But there are reasons why we write about these things, right? Like, the stories want to be told for a reason.
Right, and if you look back, I mean, we wouldn't have fantastic books if it were not for those exact topics. I mean, where would we be if we couldn't talk about politics, for instance? We would not have 1984. We would not have Animal Farm. We wouldn't have Fahrenheit. I can't remember the number right off the top of my head.
451.
451, right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just one instance, and then you can go down the ladder on all of them. If we weren't allowed to talk about certain topics, then we wouldn't have these fantastic books.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with Genevieve. If you don't like a specific trope or genre or whatever, at least the authors that I know are very upfront about, especially during marketing, when it's like, hey, this is my book, and I, they give you the tropes, and if you're just like, oh, I don't like that trope, don't read it. If you're like, oh, this is this genre, then don't read it. Like, that's the great thing, is no one's forcing you to do it. Right. I'm not forcing you to read my book, so you are not going to force me to write how you think I should.
Right. And it goes along with reviews, too. I know that's something that we talk about here on Friday Night Writes sometimes, that you're going to get some negative reviews, you're going to get some positive reviews, you're going to get some, tepid water reviews. It is what it is, right? Not every book is for every reader, not every trope, and not every content warning list is for every reader. I think, personally, I really appreciate content warnings in books, and I'm a big form of informed consent. However, yes, I know tons and tons of people who don't even read those. They go straight in, it doesn't hurt to have them. It doesn't hurt to have a list of tropes. They're also not required.
I would rather have them and then people skip over them than someone actually needing them and they're not there. I actually had someone who they were arc reading for Abyssal, and when they signed up, I gave them the trigger warnings, and then when I sent out the email, I again listed the trigger warnings. And I had someone email me back saying, "Hey, this specific trigger warning, can you give me some more information?" Mm-hmm. And I said, "Yeah, sure." And I told them exactly what it was, and they were like, "Oh, then I can read it." Yep, and then like in Wicked Little Rabbit, there is non-consent in the book. In 2 chapters, it gets rather graphic. So in the content warnings, I list those at the beginning. But again, I appreciate those as a reader because I appreciate informed consent. I appreciate them as an author because it lets me protect my readers. But even those aren't required. Nothing in publishing is required. And so it becomes this whole hot button issue where I think we all have to realize, even readers, that this is once it's out there, it's out there, We have to just work with it. But it's currently a big topic on Thread, so I was curious about that as well. Do you ever change things for readers?
Rarely.
Yeah.
If there's like a multitude of beta readers that are saying the same thing, like, hey, this is really, you shouldn't do this, then I'd be like, okay, all right, that makes sense. But if it's, one lone wolf that doesn't like whatever it is.
And if it's something that causes harm, that's different than just something that you're trying to write because it's important to the story.
Right. If it's unnecessary and harmful, I'll take a second look at it. Sometimes I just do it because it's not because it's harmful, but because it's part of the story. But that's also the demographic, right? So you're going into horror, so you have to anticipate that there's going to be something horrific. Like we're not getting into whatever romance or fantasy, or it's a very niche market, and the people that are buying those types of books are looking for that type of thing.
Yeah. Well, and that's why my tagline is "Happily Ever After is overrated," because that's not how horror works all the time. Let's be honest.
No. Like I want to be just traumatized when I pick up a horror book. Like,
got it. I will
mess me up.
I will triple it for legacy.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, anyway, reverting back to Friday Night Writes. Brian's up next.
Oh. I mean, I don't know how to follow that. I mean, Clarence, I mean, between writing and everything else you have going on, your home life, and I mean, how do you handle the author life balance, and recharging your mental health and all that stuff?
Well, I think sleep is a myth. So I have more hours than most people.
Yes. What's sleep? What's rest?
Yeah.
What is
Who needs
that?
it? It's overrated.
This might have caffeine in it.
Yeah, exactly. I live off of high caffeine tea, and so I make a joke of it, but realistically, I don't sleep very well. I do a lot of reading and writing sometimes when I can't sleep. On top of that, I try not to let it take over my life, right? So I try to keep it to a minimum. I try to write like an hour or two a day and focus on my family and my chores and my responsibilities. Those are the priorities. So I try to keep a good balance. And if I start getting out of control, I usually can catch it early enough and alter the course.
Yeah. And do you have a support system as an author that helps you with mental health and recharging?
I have the greatest support system that's ever been created. We have a critique group called Knights of the Absurd, and 2 of you are in it. And I don't know why Brian's not in it yet. He should be.
Add him.
What is the Knights of the Absurd, and how do I join?
It's our
It's a
critique group.
Discord.
Yeah, it's a Discord server.
Oh,
We go in there and we talk and we share our personal lives, and then we complain about our stories not doing what they're supposed to do, and then we tell each other it's going to be fine.
And we root each other on.
give me a link.
Yeah, Clarence had invited me. Was it like 2 years ago now?
Yeah.
And I felt like the odd person out because everyone there was writing like horror short stories, and I'm like, here I am with my full length romance. But they encouraged me to try my hand at horror, and then I asked the group. I was like, can I invite Samantha because she writes horror?
It's you're welcome to come in. I mean,
Oh,
say,
thank you.
somebody will send you an invite, one of these guys, or I will, whatever.
Yeah, we'll get him in there.
Yeah, we there's not that many of us in there. There's only like 5 or 6 of us, but very, very supportive. Anytime I need help or a break or even just to complain, these guys are usually a pretty good open ear.
Nikki, some people think romance is horror. Sometimes romance is horror. Let's be real. Ooh, man.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I think it's really important to have a support system. Most of the time when we ask this question, how do you balance it? People are like, what's balance? What's that? That's a thing. Yeah. No.
Yeah, I try. That's the best answer.
We smile and nod and fake it till we make it. Haha.
how
That's the
am I
thing.
going to make it? I only have like
Oh, no.
4,000 page reads total ever.
I don't know if any of us are making it. Let's be legit. We're starting over. 2025 is not about success. 2025 is about a year of nothing for me.
It's
I don't need it to be
survival.
good. I just need it to not be awful.
I think the only one that's thriving in our group is Jeff. I think he's
Dude, like Jeff is on a whole nother level. Like, I get so jealous. He's like, I have book number 38 coming out. I'm like, fuck you, man.
yeah. It's
Good
pretty
for
wild.
you, but
Is that the guy who just waved at me?
Yeah, probably.
Oh man.
I'm surprised he's not here, actually.
We'll send him an invite. We got to get him on the show too. All right, so question for you then. As a writer, we have established that balance is not a thing. We just pretend, right? We have to have a support system in place, so that's good. But as a writer, do you have any like weird quirks or writing routines that are either like stylistic or unique to you? Do you do anything that's like uniquely Clarence Carter?
Do you have an example? I don't.
When I write, this is like a physical quirk of mine. When I write, I always cock my head to the side and then wonder why I have neck pain.
I feel like I do that when I read. I feel like when I'm reading, I kind of.
I
Oh,
like
shoot.
to
Did
put
I send
on
I sent
Ancient
an accidental
Aliens.
invite.
Yeah, Ancient Aliens.
Do I have
Yep, I
any-
put it on in the background, turn the volume down so I could barely hear it. I just need some background noise that isn't
Oh, no.
distracting.
I sent an accidental invite. I'm sorry. I'm like, I clicked on Jeff's name and it sent an invite.
Welcome, Jeff.
Hey.
Here, I'm gonna. Yeah.
He's pulling up the hood and hiding.
This is Friday Night Rights. We don't know what we're doing. It's fine.
The rules are made up and the points don't matter.
And we'll be on this channel in a few weeks anyway.
He just summons Jeff, and there he is.
Right?
Hi,
We
Jeff.
summoned him.
Yeah. How's it going?
Hi.
It's going. We're interviewing Clarence for Friday Night Rights, and then Brian decided that you needed to make an appearance.
Oh, thanks.
I tried to click on your profile picture here and it just sent an invite. I didn't realize it.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
So do you have anything that's uniquely quirky Clarence Carter then that you do?
Not that I can think of, no.
Next time you write, you're going to be sitting at your desk and going, oh, damn, I do this.
Yeah,
I have to tell everybody.
I might be a little more. I might be a little more attentive to it.
Yeah.
So, do you work on multiple works in progress at a time, or do you focus on one, and then when that's done, you move on to the next story?
I try my best to work it one at a time, but I often get stuck, and it torments me for long periods of time, and then I'm like, all right, I gotta set this down and work on something else for a little while, and then come back
Hey,
to it.
that works. I have to work on multiple at one time, otherwise I get bored.
Wait,
Yeah.
how many are you up to now, Evie?
49. Almost as many books as Jeff has out.
Oh my god.
Oh,
That's
jeez.
more than you know that famous number in Clerks. You've far surpassed that one.
Man. Past the answer to life and all things.
42.
I only have 3 right now, but only one of them. I have a novel that's halfway finished and a short story that's got 1,000 words in it, and then I'm supposed to be doing other things. Yeah, we see you, Anastasia.
Yes.
Now, I can't write more than 3 at a time. For whatever reason, 3 is my magic number. So.
That works.
I try my best to work on one, but things happen, you know.
You mentioned your support system. Would that include your family, and what do they think of your writing?
That is an interesting question. I don't know the answer to how most people think about my writing. I try not to follow up. I keep my expectations low because I don't want to be
There it
disappointed.
is.
That's
Yes,
Evie's
I
outlook
do
for the whole
same
year.
thing.
As far as how they feel about it, they are relatively supportive. There are some people that pretend that it doesn't exist. My brother, in particular, for the longest time, he was like, fucking,
Huh.
I think that's just a sibling rivalry thing. And now he's working on a book of his own, so, haha.
You inspired
The
him.
tides have turned.
Yep.
The tides have turned.
My girls don't really, talk about it too much, but sometimes their friends will bring me up, and not realizing that I'm their mom, and so they're just like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, my 7-year-old started second grade this year, went to school, and she was like, my mommy's an author. And I was like, we don't have to talk about that. It's fine. Because the one that people recognize for me is horror porn, so we don't have to talk about that. It's fine. I'm not in second grade.
Yeah.
No thanks.
My family, most of my family, I get the, hey, it's the famous author. How you doing, Mr. Famous Author? Like, yeah, okay, I get it. I write books.
Yeah. I get the family members that are like, hey, I'm entitled to free copies of your books, right? Which, like, I would give them to you, but, like, you don't have to be like that.
Yeah, right.
Once
Yeah.
they expect it to be free, at that point, I'm like, I want to charge you double now.
I'm out. Family tax. Yeah.
Thankfully,
Family
I
and
don't,
friends.
thankfully, I don't deal with a lot of that.
It's fun. Fun's a good word.
Yes.
So.
So how do you deal with, and I know we've talked about it in the Discord group a few times.
Yeah,
but
go
how
ahead,
do you
grab
deal
one.
with writer's block
Like,
and alternately
Just kiss.
imposter syndrome.
For writer's block, I mostly just bang my head on the desk until something comes out. For imposter syndrome, I mean, is there really an answer? If there's a solution or a way to evade it, I haven't figured it out yet. I feel like it's always haunting. It's always lurking in the shadows, just waiting, just, to sneak in at any given moment and pounce on me. No, realistically, I don't get blocked that often, but when I do, I usually move on to another project and try to work around, rather than going through the block, I kind of work around it, and it tends to work for the most part.
Imposter syndrome only shows up if you're not an imposter. Important thing to remind yourself of, right? Because you can't be worried that you're an imposter if you've already written stuff. Keep that in mind next time. Also, a friend of ours who might still be in this live, was in this live earlier, told me to give my imposter syndrome a name so I can tell it to shut up. Like a person. It is actually surprisingly helpful.
I haven't thought of that.
Name it my name.
Can you name it your name?
Like I'll be like, shut up, Evie.
No.
That might be a little weird, but then again, that's par for the course.
Weird is what we do.
Yes, exactly.
See me randomly in Discord saying, "Shut up, Evie." Just know that I'm not talking about you, except for the times that I am talking about you.
Yeah, do you know what? I have told you before, you can absolutely name a character after me as long as you give it an epic death scene. So if you want to name your imposter syndrome Evie, like, go for it. Like,
I can't name my imposter syndrome Evie because I named my sticky notes Evie. It can't be two things. The story behind that is when I did my original sketch for the character art for Wicked Little Rabbit, I had to use a Post-it note to cover up the eggplant in the character art to show it off. So then Evie goes, okay, well, I identify as a Post-it note. So now all my Post-it notes are Evie Black.
Yes.
Forever and ever, Evie Black. All right. So one more question about your writing before we get into some of the fun stuff for the evening. Do you have any advice for unpublished writers or people who hope to become published authors?
It's not too late. Turn around. Run.
Turn around.
Yes.
No.
I thought about that, believe it or not. It's too late for me, though.
Yeah. Be prepared to have your heart broken. I mean, this is not for the weak. It really isn't. There's a lot more no than there is yes. And unfortunately, that's just the shape of the business. I mean, it's tough, both mentally and emotionally. I almost said physically. Yeah, lifting these books is exhausting.
That's true. But it can be tough physically as well. The strain that stress puts on your body is a real thing.
Also, if you do like live events and setting up your table can be horrendous. But if you're certain that this is what you want to do, be prepared that you're going to get rejected a lot. You're going to get negative reviews. You're going to get... like I said, I can't remember who said it, but somebody once said, the road to yes is paved with no. And that is the perfect analogy of what we do here. And as long as you keep that in mind going forward, I think you'll be all right.
Definitely takes thick skin.
Yeah, that is something I've had to learn the hard way recently.
I feel like it's something that we all learn the hard way, and we don't just learn it once. We learn it multiple times because we think we're finally to the point where, like, yeah, it's okay, right? And then something will come up that you didn't realize you had pinned so much hope on. And then it's a no. And then you're like, oh, I am not okay. And you have to pick yourself back up again. It doesn't just happen once. It's a cycle. It comes and goes. So, all right. So one more time, we are going to give you a chance to participate in the rehoming of Without Saying Goodbye, Clarence's newest book here with the book box. It comes with all the extra goodies. So if you are interested in adopting one of these lovely copies, America only for the signed copy ebook. If you are international winner, drop a Maine lobster in the comments, and Evie will be adding you to the spinny wheel of doom. Drop it in there. It's a good book. I just finished it today.
So, I was going to say two things, and I just forgot the first thing.
It's okay.
Anyway.
Say the second and then circle back.
Yes. So the second thing, just wanted to, Mr. Jeffrey Beasler, he's just chilling out there like Ed McMahon, sitting on the couch, night show. Do you have any questions for Mr. Carter before we get into the fun stuff?
Oh, let's see, Mr. Carter. Who is your favorite character that you've ever written ever? All-time favorite.
You're my favorite character ever. No, I'm just kidding. Ernie from Damn Ernie is my favorite character. He is snarky, ridiculous, hilarious, and awful.
I have a question for you while we're doing this before we get to the fun questions.
Yeah.
What is the creature in Mr. Thorpe's spell actually?
He is a cryptid that is a cross between a Wendigo and a werewolf.
I thought so. Ha.
Yeah. There was a question about Canada. So I can't ship you a book box to Canada. It'll cost me a fortune. I'm sorry. But I can arrange to send you either an ebook copy of Without Saying Goodbye or an audio book code for Audible for Damn Ernie, I believe I still have credits for. Or Mr. Thorpe's Bell. I think I still have credits for that as well.
Which is really good. I love that one.
You even get to choose. Pick whichever. I don't have Without Saying Goodbye on Audible yet, unfortunately.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
So follow Clarence and buy books so he can make audiobooks.
I remembered my first thing. Yes, I dropped a couple lobsters down there. If by chance the spinning wheel lands on me, we're going to give it away to somebody else because it's not fair for me to go home with it.
Okay.
All right. And we're going to get into some fun questions. We should start with Miss Evie Black's favoriteest question of all time.
It is. And Clarence, this is the most important question, right? Like, you're going to have to dig deep for this one, all right? This is the hard hitter.
The face of concentration.
What is your favorite dinosaur?
Gummy dinosaurs.
I will accept that answer.
Perfection. Where do you get those?
So these ones came from a store called Lollipops. It says it right there. So it's like a local place. I don't know that they do online sales. My wife got them for me for Christmas. But take a look around. You might be able to find them online.
When you do a schmiv, you should include a jar of the gummy dinos for some of them.
Yeah,
A box of Clarence's favorite things.
People would just lose their minds for those.
Mm-hmm.
I like that idea, but I'm afraid that they might melt by the time somebody gets them.
That's true.
Send them in the winter. Be fine. Be fine. We'll just be realistic dinosaurs after the asteroid hit. It's fine.
That was
Dinosaur
a little
puddles.
dark, Samantha.
Dinosaur puddles. Yay.
So,
Brian's like, okay, how do I recover from that? Moving on.
that's been my problem all night. I don't know how to follow all this.
Listen, I haven't been on this show in a couple of weeks, so they got used to normal. I came back. It's a problem.
Normal.
I'm the
Never heard of
problem,
it.
It's me. It's fine.
Abby Normal. Abby Normal. Which 2 or 3 people, living or unalived, would you like to have dinner with?
Anybody.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Good choice.
Yes.
I have a lot of questions for him.
Me too.
Yeah. Bob Lazar. I got some questions for him too.
Okay.
And I don't know. The last one we're gonna go with Flash from Guns N' Roses.
Nice.
Oh,
That's quite a dinner
I like
party.
that. Like, that's going to be an interesting dinner.
Because why not, right?
right.
And space travel.
You need musical entertainment.
All right. My question for you. In the past, people were buried with objects that they wanted to have on hand in the afterlife, right? What would you want to be buried with for your afterlife?
That's an interesting question. My brain is scrambling for a sarcastic answer or something a little snarky, but I got nothing. If I could be buried with the dino gummies, that wouldn't be too bad. I feel like
Yummy afterlife.
a handful of books. Fucking bury me with some Dean Koontz or some Stephen King or some Jeff Bezos or
Fill
something.
a Kindle with a charger and put it in there, and then you'll have everything you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the burying, the gummies with you would be a tad selfish. That everybody else should share those gummies.
The dinosaurs would get to be petroleum again.
Fair enough. I feel like the afterlife would be very boring if you didn't have anything to read.
True.
Imagine, what if you okay, just a scenario. What if you died in your home, right? And then the new people moved in, kind of like Beetlejuice, but they were just so boring and normal, and the only chance you had to read for the rest of eternity was whatever they were reading, but over their shoulder. And all they wanted to read was the driest textbooks on whatever. And you're over here I don't care.
The problem with there is I couldn't die twice, so it was just torture.
I think I need to write that story. That would be fun. Comedic horror. Which is a really fun genre, by the way. Comedic horror is great.
Genevieve's I'll just keep flipping the pages on them.
I was just thinking I'm gonna read a lot of Colleen Hoover, I guess.
Oh, you went in for it. Good for you.
It doesn't end with
You're not wrong. It doesn't end with us.
I'm just kidding. I'm sure she's a sweetheart.
I'm sure she is. Not all books are for all people.
Yeah.
We talked about that earlier, so.
If you could go back in time, what year would you travel to?
Oh. So I would really like to know how the pyramids were built. I think I would try to go back to whenever that time frame was. There's a lot of different theories as to how they were built, and I'd like to just know the truth. I'd like to know. Yeah, I mean, aliens are the most likely answer, but the possibility
they're in the ocean.
The possibility that humans built them, as absurd as it seems, I'd like to know how.
Right? So, out of all your characters, which one would make the worst roommate?
Oh, God. Ernie. Oh. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Can you imagine the bullshit that you'd have to put up with every single day? Oh. Here we go. What is he up to now?
Oh, Ernie.
Ernie, fucking sit down. Stop complaining. Eat your pudding and get over it.
Can't you just behave for 5 minutes? All right. I have a very normal, boring question for you. How many pairs of shoes do you own?
2.
Only 2. What are they for?
One is for every day, and one of them's for snow.
Fair enough. Sometimes people have to really think about that one, and they have 50 pairs of shoes, and you're like, why do you have so many shoes?
That would be my wife.
I think I own 4 pairs of shoes.
I'm like, why do you have 70 pairs of shoes? You've only got 2 feet.
I have you beat. I think I have 7.
You have more shoes than I do.
I know. I have.
What are you doing?
Well, hold on. I have two pairs of white sneakers that I alternate. I have one white sneaker that I use for the garden. I have a black sneaker. I have a blue sneaker. I have brown dress shoes. I have tan snow boots, and I have black formal attire.
Do you have 2 pairs of white dad shoes?
Yes.
The dad shoes, they're always white. I love that. Yep, there they are, the New Balance. And one of them's got to be stained green from mowing the lawn.
I have my indoor shoes, my outdoor shoes, and my signing shoes.
I just have my work shoes. That's it.
I've got a pair of sneakers. I only wear skater shoes. I do not like non-skater shoes. They suck. I have a pair of flip-flops because they're easy, and I don't want to fucking put on shoes half the time, right?
At first I thought you said nun-skater shoes, and then I thought of nun skating. And that was a lot of fun for me.
That would be really fun.
Yeah.
I have a pair of like high heels for things, and then I guess I have four. I have a pair of knee-high boots. Those are my ass-kicking boots. So, anyway, Clarence has 2 pairs of shoes for his 2 feet.
For the 2 seasons Maine has, winter and not winter.
Yes. You're pretty close to the Ben and Jerry factory. It's in a neighboring state, I guess. Well, 2 states over. What is your favorite ice cream flavor?
Rocky Roads, maybe.
Mm.
I like that one. I like cookie dough.
Oh, I love cookie dough. Yeah.
See, I'm a Moose Tracks person myself.
Yeah, Moose Track's good too.
Evie's
feel like
boring.
I don't feel like there's any wrong answer.
Plain vanilla. It's all you need in life.
I had a Moose Tracks ice cream sandwich earlier, so.
Hey, 2 votes Moose Tracks.
Why are you glaring at me, Clarence?
For all the strange and spicy stuff that she writes, I'm very surprised that her ice cream is vanilla, if you know what I'm saying.
No, look, here's the thing. No, that's fair. That is fair. However, vanilla is the perfect foundation for everything. I could turn that regular vanilla ice cream, I could make that into a banana split. I can make that into a sundae. I can add additional flavors and have it be a milkshake.
That sounds like so much work, though. Why don't you just buy it pre-made?
Also, do the milkshakes bring the boys to the yard?
You can't get the flavors right.
Like this piece of paper.
I don't know. Nobody showed up, so.
But you have to write on it to make it what you want.
Clarence said, "Do you milkshakes bring the boys to the yard?" And I went like this, and nobody
Whoa.
came. So the answer's no.
No, but my husband, yes, he's got a Skyline, and so we'll have random people stop and get out and try to hey, can you tell me about the car? And I'm like, it's a piece of shit. But if Jonathan's home, they'll have full on conversations about this car, and I nickname his car's Milkshake because it brings the boys to the yard.
So now it needs a big bumper sticker that says milkshake on it. Mm-hmm. All right. My question. What is the most daring thing you have ever done?
Oh, God.
Are you boring or
Jeff-
daring? You got to pick one.
Jeff, cover your ears, would you? You have to keep in mind that I was a rambunctious teenager once, a bajillion years ago. And
You're
I
not
did
that old.
I did a lot. Well, I feel that old. I did a lot of
Teenager
things.
at the height of Jackass.
Yeah.
Me too.
I did a lot of things that were legal adjacent.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, that tracks.
So I don't know to what degree those crimes. But for the sake of
he doesn't know if he could still be charged or
yeah,
So you have to say hypothetically or
Yeah.
alleged.
the statute of limitations hasn't run out on
Character in the
everything.
book, right?
Well, read the Blacktop Kings and you'll learn a few things. But one of the things that I did was I peed on a cop car once.
You are a legend.
Well,
I love that. I love that she did that. You are now my hero.
I'm so proud.
Did you do it so it gets into the vent so whenever they turn the heat on, that's just that smell just...
no. I wasn't that
Allegedly,
brave.
Clarence did this. Allegedly.
Yeah. So they put up decoy cars in North Carolina. I don't know if they do it where you guys are, but they sort of deter speeders. So they'll just leave the cars unattended sometimes. And me and my buddies had a bet that one of us wouldn't do it, and well, you know how the rest of it goes. And all I did was get the tire and kind of the side. I didn't climb on top of it or anything. Didn't pee in the gas tank.
Clarence.
Oh,
Allegedly.
Oh, right, allegedly.
allegedly, supposedly.
Mayhaps.
My man here's innocent. So, we all know as we're writers, authors, but we're also readers, and readers tend to collect books. I'm sure all of us have bookcases overflowing or having to buy additional bookcases. But do you collect something else besides books?
Unintentionally, yes. I inherited sports memorabilia from my grandfather. I have more freaking sports cards than I could ever know what to do with.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Brian's over here just like, what kind?
You activated Brian's neurospicy
Brian, he just got
obsession.
dopamine straight to the brain. He's all about it now.
I saw that.
Oh, Sam wants to know about hockey cards. She lives in Maine. Maybe you guys could trade.
Yeah, I've got tons of hockey cards. I've got every sport you can imagine. I even have freaking NASCAR. Oh, yeah. Yep, I have every one of those 20 times over.
I used to
I
have
would
a
have
bunch
been
of
more
sports cards.
impressed if that was Pokemon cards.
I have like
Magic the
600,000 Pokemon cards. You should come over and we can play Pokemon.
There you go.
As long as Legacy gets written.
Fine. Look, okay, listen, Clarence. My home decor is threatening me. at this point. Because Legacy was supposed to come out 2 years ago, and I'm still sitting here with it on my computer freaking half finished, and I have a short story to write before I get back to it, so Evie.
I know. I'm right there with you. I started Finding Brock before it started Core Memories, and I still have 2 short stories to write before I do that.
Well, and now Clarence was reading Dealings in the Dark, so I'm going to have to get him a copy of Bound and Betrayed, and then Legacy of Lies needs to come out, so he's not driving his happy ass to Michigan to stand behind my chair, too.
Yeah.
Evie threatened to drive here.
It wasn't a threat, it was a promise.
Fine.
She'd get to you a lot quicker than I would.
I don't know. She'd have to hobble here.
This is true. Multiple stops.
But then she'd whack me over the back of the head with a cane if I stopped writing, so it's fine.
Got it ready.
I can read backwards.
Yeah, it says, I would agree with you, but then we'd both be wrong.
Right? All right, one more fun question.
All right. What inanimate object would be the most annoying if it played loud, upbeat music while being used?
Oh, the toilet. Oh, God. Can you imagine?
Cop car, right?
I feel like the toilet might actually be okay, because sometimes you hear some things in that room you don't want to hear, so just bury those.
You do have a point, but I'll counter that point in that imagine if it was like carnival music or exactly. It's the middle of the night. It's dark. You know you don't always turn the light on.
While you're trying to pinch one off?
Yeah, exactly. And all of a
A
sudden
new
you just
comedic horror.
you just hear the Pennywise circus going on in your bathroom.
Or worse, the hold music
all
from your
float
phone.
down here.
I just imagine, like, you're sitting on the toilet trying to go, and all of a sudden it's like 3 a.m, your eyes are barely open, you're hearing the hold music from calling some business that keeps you on hold for 3 hours.
Brian,
So would
didn't
that
we
be
just
Killer
have
Clowns from
last week
Outhouse Space?
Excellent. I love it.
All right, you guys. So before we start wrapping this up, we're going to give you one final chance to enter the SHMIV, the rehoming, the adoption, whatever you want to call it. If you would like a copy of Without Saying Goodbye US, you would get, it's a chance for a book box with some goodies in the book. If you are international, then it's an ebook or an audiobook code of your choice. So if you want to join, this is your last chance to join. Drop a lobster down in the comments.
I love that Andrew dropped like 15 lobsters. He's like, give me the damn book.
Black lobster.
Yeah, one lobster
love
per
it.
person.
Oh yeah, Sam Selwood is reading The Ruin, and I'm getting the play-by-play as she's reading it, and she's like, I'm so scared. I'm not scared of the book, but I'm scared what you're gonna do to my characters. And I'm like, you know me so well.
Well, she knows the credo.
Listen, Clarence does the same thing, okay? So if you want one to hop into next, go ahead and go get one of these. Also,
Yeah.
Kennedy Sutton, I'm still mad at her. Anyway,
Yeah. My characters are never really safe.
there's no such thing as safe. You write horror. There's no such thing as safe as in the real world. Maybe I should go back to therapy. Anyway, back to Brian.
Oh yes, I had therapy today too, and I learned I have to work on my CBTs,
Yeah.
cognitive behavioral techniques. Negative thought. I have to switch gears and sing a happy song or something or whatever.
I'd be singing Happy Birthday and get really annoyed because it gets stuck in my head for 3 weeks.
Yes. So, Mr. Carter, can you remind us all, besides this beautiful app, where else can we find you online?
You can find me at clarencecarterauthor.com. You can find me here. I have a link in the thingamabob that'll lead you pretty much anywhere you want to be.
And do you have, sorry, I'm trying to look at my thingy, but it closed on me. Do you have any planned events coming up in 2025 where we can meet you in person?
Well, if you can travel through 3 feet of snow, you're welcome to come up to any... I plan on doing the same book festival that I did last year. I can't remember the name of it, of course. Waterville Maine Book Festival. I plan on doing the Bangor Comic and Toy Con. I plan on doing the Maine Comic and Toy Con. Those are usually in Portland and Bangor. Those are big events for me, so I try to do them every year. And there are also like these things called night markets that happen in Bangor as well. I plan on doing all of those. There's like 4 or 5 of those. So I'll be on tour again. I might call this one the Unhinged Book Tour because
Nice.
just as you guys have witnessed today, I'm a little unhinged.
I think we're all a little unhinged, except maybe Jeffrey down there.
He's
Yeah.
good. He's just chilling. Listen, I call my reader group the Coven of Chaos because I don't know how to do anything without being unhinged. Okay? So you're not alone.
Fair enough.
All right. So you primarily stay then in the northeastern U.S. You don't usually go other places?
For now, yeah. I do plan on extending my stay a little bit further when I can afford to do so, but times are tight right now.
So go buy books so Clarence can buy a pool table and travel to other states.
And more gummy dinos.
Dinos. Yes. Are you ever planning on doing something like Scares That Care? I know that's a pretty big horror convention.
Eventually, yeah. I also want to do StokerCon this year, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull it off.
I
I'm
want
going to
to.
try.
I keep getting denied.
Yeah.
I'm not horror-y enough. I keep getting told I'm not horror-y enough for the horror club.
What does that even mean?
It's a great question. When I figure it out, I'll fucking let you know. Anyway.
Horror-y enough.
Ironically, okay, this is the funny part. It's usually male authors who come into my DMs and are like, you don't write horror, you write fantasy. And I'm like,
No.
I
So-
write both.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to get a bunch of dead birds, and we're going to leave them on everybody's doorsteps. And then you're going to say, well, here's horror-y enough.
Here's some fantasy for you.
Yeah. If you
Besides
think
this.
about it, all books are really fantasy. I mean, it's unless they're nonfiction.
That's true. No, apparently my books are not scary enough because I only like to write about supernatural horror. And I'm like, I'm sorry that they don't scare you, but books don't scare me at all. So
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. Horror is subjective. Scary is subjective. So
I read a horror, it was a haunted house book a few months back, and it was supposed to be one of the scariest haunted house books out there. And I read it, I'm like, there's nothing scary about this.
I just DNF'd an international best-selling horror book because I was super bored. It was Slewfoot. People love it. I couldn't get through it. So, I mean, books are subjective. Horror and scare are subjective. Like, it is what it is. I'll get into one of these damn horror events eventually.
We're going to get you in. Don't worry. We know the secret passcodes.
Thank you.
We're going to do a...
I actually kind of think it might because I'm a girl.
Oh, God. Come on.
In some of these instances. I actually had another author tell me to change my pen name so it was more gender neutral, and I was like, I'm not going to do that. Fuck that. I'm going to show up as me.
Fuck.
There
Yeah.
are fantastic female writers out there, too. I mean, ones that have won very prestigious awards.
Mm-hmm. I'm
Gwendolyn
a huge fan
Geist.
of Darcy Coates. She writes some phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, like I said, Gwendolyn Geist, Gemma Amore. There's a whole bunch of them.
Alexis Henderson.
Yeah.
There's some really good stuff. Anyway, that's about me, not about you. But we need to get you into a horror fest somewhere else outside of Maine, too, so we can expand your audience. Oh, I fucking love Anne Rice. Sorry. Anyway, back to what we're doing.
Yeah.
Was there
So,
anything else you wanted everyone to know?
by stocking gummy dinos? I don't know.
Well, I mean, like, you just had your book come out. Is there another one, an anthology coming out that you're going to be in? I mean, we talked about your shows, but was there anything else you had down the pipeline? Like, now's your time to, shamelessly self-promote.
So, coming down the line, I've got a bunch of stories in submission, including with the anthology for this. Well, I'm on the waiting list for that, so we're going to see how that goes. Other anthologies, nothing planned, but like I said, I've got a bunch of stuff in submission. As for 25, I do have a collection of short stories that I plan on putting out probably in like March or April. It's nowhere near ready yet, but it's going to be called The Diamond Highway, and it's also 10 short stories that I've collected from magazines and anthologies and stuff, and I'm going to put them all together and repurpose them, I guess, rehome them.
Nice.
All right.
Well, then if we're ready, let me switch my camera around. No, I want it switched, not off.
Yell at the technology, Evie. All right, here we
Okay.
go for the rehoming.
And our winner is...
Hey!
Nikki Nicole.
Yay!
Hey, Nikki.
All right.
And we just want to take a minute to say not only congratulations to Nikki, but thank you to everyone for being here and getting some more eyes on Clarence and his amazing works. I really do enjoy Clarence's writing. He's not just some random guy we brought on here. I know Evie does as well. We got to get some in Brian's hands. But you should definitely check out his new book if you want to cry. It's important. You have to want to cry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I will, just send me the information or whatever, and I will send that book out. You get a little bit of swag, too. I might even throw a gummy dino in there, just one.
Hey.
This one.
Ooh, fancy.
Well, you're going to have to tell a little white lie to the U.S. Postal Service if they ask if there's anything liquid, fragile, perishable, or potentially hazardous.
The dinosaurs have already perished. It is no longer perishable.
There you go.
They're pretty much expired at this point.
All in the precision of language, okay? Which English does not have.
Whenever they ask me that question, I always want to be facetious and be like, well, it's a book, so of course it's dangerous. It has ideas. But the people that work at the post office, one of them has no sense of humor, like at all. And so I'm just like, no, there's nothing.
Also, wouldn't books be considered dead, too?
Dead trees.
That is true. Yes,
Yep.
they have already perished, so they cannot be further perished.
I do make sure when I mail out my books, though, I have stickers that say "Do not bend" that I put on the envelopes because they freaking cram them into the mailboxes, and I'm like, do you know what you just did? This is more valuable than anything else that goes in this house. All right. Well, thank you for joining us again, Clarence. You are the first guest of 2025, so that puts you at a point of prestige this year, which is kind of cool. And this episode will be up on YouTube sometime tomorrow. Brian's been putting them up there, so you'll get some more eyes on you. But we're just really glad that you came back. You've been a joy to have on here. Next week, we will have Jenny Allen, another horror author, joining us for Friday Night Writes. She's also one of our fellow author friends from Sinful Signings, so we are looking forward to that. One of her books, Blood Lily, right now is her most popular. And then we do want to remind you as well that we do have an interest form if you would like to be on Friday Night Writes. We have a link in the bio for you to let us know about yourself as an author, a narrator, an influencer, an event host, anything that you do here in the bookish community. We would love to have you. We are mostly booked through 2025. So if you want to get on here, make sure you apply because we want you on here too. And if anything does happen to TikTok, we will be moving to the camera place because, this is kind of uncertain. And we do have the Friday Night Writes anthology coming out in the middle of this year, which will be featuring some of the authors that we have had and will have soon on our show. That's called See Me As I Am. You did not see the cover earlier, and it's going to have proceeds that benefit NAMI. Okay, so we're looking for invisible mental and physical disabilities or impairments in that one. So it's a really important anthology, so make sure that you are sticking around, finding out the information by following Friday Night Writes on our platforms.
And those submissions, or the interest form for the anthology, we are going to close that form at the end of this month. So you still have time to submit the interest form, and then the actual submissions are due at the end of March. Yeah, so plenty of time to write a short story.
We have like 15 people so far, something like that, who are going to be contributing. I know Clarence has already submitted his story. He's actually the first one to submit, which is really exciting. So we get to read through Clarence's here shortly. But yeah, we are taking more authors for that as well. Anything we can do to help benefit for NAMI. Yeah. So thank you for joining us on Friday Night Writes, where all the chaos happens every single freaking time because we don't know how to be professionals.
What's that?
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Professional what exactly?
I'm professional trouble. That's what I am.
At work, I call myself a professional fuck up.
Hey,
there you go.
I like it. It's all good. All right, and we will see you guys next week.
Have a good night.
Have a good night. Thanks for joining us for a little bit, Jeff.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.